Welcome to Des Moines Park and Recreation's Outdoor Flower Education Program. Today we're having the happy experience of talking about spring ephemerals. People know the word ephemeral is something short-lasted or passes very quickly. There actually is a category of flowers that are called ephemerals because they come up in the spring. They actually like quite a bit of sun. They come out in the spring before the leaves are out. So even though these are almost always in woodland settings, found underneath trees, they come out with a lot of sun, but gentle spring sun, come up and bloom, get it over with, and oftentimes are completely dormant by even June. So by the time the leaves come out of the trees, the ephemerals are over. So we have this whole beautiful hillside here at Greenwood Park that is just covered with spring beauties. One of the sweetest little spring flowers. It has the lily family look to it, that it's mostly white with a little bit of pink veins. They're a little hard to see, but tiny little flower. And generally they're white, but occasionally you get one that's almost all pink like this one. You can see there in the sun. And again, by another month or so, all there is a little pod, a little capsule at the top of this, and the flowers are done. Another lovely spring wildflower is Virginia bluebells, Hortensia virginica. These grow natively. They're naturally occurring here. They are actually available commercially. And again, this is an ephemeral. There won't be any evidence whatsoever of this flower by June. It'll go, the flowers will slowly drop off, seed pods will form. Eventually the leaves will turn yellow and you think maybe they're dying and they're just going to sleep for the winter and they'll be back next spring. These are spring ephemerals at Greenwood Park. Welcome to Des Moines Parks and Recreation Department's Spring Wildflower Identification Series. This interesting little sort of fairy forest looking collection of plants are actually called May apples. They're another spring ephemeral. They come up in the spring, look enchanting, set flower, bloom, set seed, and then go dormant very early in the season. Oftentimes by the time the leaves are out in the trees, these guys are all done. These form an interesting plant. They have two large leaves. The name is Podophyllum peltatum because of the way this leaf is branched off. The stem is right in the middle, which is considered peltate in the botany world. And they produce one strange little flower right in the middle of the two leaves. These aren't open. We're still a little early in the spring. Eventually a very unique flower will appear and they will set seed and go dormant. And we are at Greenwood Park, just west of the amphitheater. Welcome to Des Moines Park and Recreation Spring Wildflower Identification. We're talking about spring ephemerals today, and we're at Greenwood Park, just north of the amphitheater. We have a lovely woodland understory with a lot of very nice native woodland spring wildflowers. Right here in front of me is Jacob's ladder, Polemonium reptans. There's apparently some biblical reference to this leaf looking like a ladder that has a story attached to it that was where the common name came from it. It's a lovely little flower in the phlox family. We also have some more spring beauty that we've already talked about. Beautiful white flower with some little white veins in the petals, occasionally actually pink, Claytonia. And then also right here are some violets. They're not exotic, they're not rare, but they sure are pretty. Just a common blue violet. There's a lot of different varieties of violets, and probably more than any of blue. A lot of people think this shouldn't be growing in your lawn. I can't imagine why anybody would not like a flower that sweet. So spring ephemerals at Greenwood Park. Here's another spring wildflower we'd like to show you. This is swamp buttercup growing right next to the creek, so you can. That's a good indicator that it's probably a wetland or likes a lot of water. These buttercups are just lovely in that the yellow petals they look like they've been shellacked or painted or actually wet or something. They're just as shiny as could be. They have an attractive little yellow center like most buttercups in the Ranunculaceae family do. And once the petals are done, they fall off and the strange little center section develops into flowers, develops into seeds, which they drop, and then for the rest of the summer they're just green. So another nice spring wildflower. Welcome to Des Moines Parks and Recreation Department's Spring Ephemeral Wildflower Identification. This is the last set of flowers we're going to show you. This is woodland phlox, Phlox divaricata. Yet another species that takes advantage of a lot of light early in the spring when the leaves haven't come out yet, and gets up, blooms very early, takes advantage of that nice gentle spring sun, and then by the time the leaves are out, we're pretty much done. Woodland phlox especially is a nice spring indicator because it indicates it's pretty early spring when it comes out. A few other things have already opened, but it blooms for a very long time. So by the time it's done, you're really getting into early summer. So woodland phlox, Phlox divaricata. We also have another interesting leaf here. This is from one of the truly early spring flowers. This is bloodroot. It has just this strange leaf. It looks like somebody had one of those projects where you fold your piece of paper in half and cut interesting edges, make a snowflake or something. Bloodroot, a sanguinaria, puts up a spectacularly beautiful white flower in the very early spring. Sometimes still snow on the ground. This one has already lost its flower and begun to produce a little pod, which is after all what flowers are all about, is producing seeds. So this will continue to develop. Once it's done and the seeds have dropped, the leaves will go dormant and it'll be all over until next year when you can look for it again in the spring. And we very much encourage you to come out to Des Moines parks, look for our spring wildflowers. You never know what you might see around the next corner. We haven't showed you Dutchman's breeches and toothwort. There's a lot of very unique things that dogtooth violet that have already come and gone, and here we are just the first week of May. So come out to the parks and see what you can find.